Chapter 1. The Harsh Truth Nobody Tells You. Walk into any gym in America on a Monday night, and you'll see the same faces, moving the same weights, year after year. The racks are full, the dumbbells clank, and yet the bodies look unchanged. This is not a coincidence, it's a pattern, and it should disturb you. Here is the harsh truth. Most men and women who dedicate hours to lifting iron will never transform their physique. They will sweat, they will strain, and they will leave the gym exhausted. But their muscles will remain stubbornly the same. Why? Because they are prisoners of the wrong mindset. Muscle growth is not a reward for showing up. It is not granted because you punish yourself with heavier weights or longer sessions. The body does not care about your pride, your ego, or your intentions. It only responds to a very specific kind of stimulus: progressive, intelligent, and sustainable overload. Without that, you are merely rehearsing fatigue. The tragedy is that many lifters don't even realize they are stuck. They chase numbers on the bar, convinced that a sloppy, shaky, personal record proves progress. They train harder, but not better. They equate soreness with growth, volume with victory, and pain with progress. But pain is not progress. Soreness is not science. Fatigue is not adaptation. Think of it this way. You could hammer a wall all day, and your hands will bleed, but the wall will not fall unless you strike it with the right angle, the right rhythm, and the right force. Muscle responds in the same way. The right angle is form, the rhythm is consistency, and the force is measured overload. If this opening sounds blunt, it is because you deserve honesty. If you are reading these words, you are searching for more than motivation. You are searching for a method that works. The first step is to admit the uncomfortable truth. Effort alone is not enough. Without the right mindset, the weight you lift is just heavy metal, not a tool for transformation. Chapter 2. The Man Who Tried Everything. Let me introduce you to a young man named Daniel. He is 25, full of drive, and no stranger to sweat. When he first walked into the gym, he carried the same dreams most WIS do. Broader shoulders, a stronger chest, arms that filled out a shirt. He believed that hard work alone would carve his physique into stone. For 3 years, Daniel trained with near-religious devotion. He bought the supplements, followed the programs that promised quick size, and never missed a Monday bench press. Friends admired his consistency. Trainers nodded when they saw him grinding through set after set. And yet, his reflection betrayed him. His arms had not thickened, his chest looked the same, and his legs, well, they might as well have been ignored. He felt betrayed by the very effort he worshipped. Maybe I'm not cut out for this, he told himself. Still, Daniel refused to quit. Instead, he did what so many in his position do. He chased the next fix. 1 month he tried German volume training, another month a celebrity's secret routine, then a high-intensity fad. He swapped programs like a man changing channels, hoping the next one would finally spark growth. But nothing changed, except his frustration. His journal was full of scribbled workouts and half-finished cycles. His mind, once fueled by optimism, grew clouded with doubt. Maybe I just have bad genetics, he whispered. The cruelest part? Daniel wasn't lazy. He wasn't careless. He was disciplined, hungry, and willing to suffer. His failure wasn't effort, it was direction. Daniel is not unique. He is the mirror of countless men and women filling gyms across the country, hard-working, committed, but endlessly spinning their wheels. They are proof that sweat alone is not the answer. His story is the reason this book exists. Because until Daniel, and those like him, confront the true cause of their stagnation, they will continue to mistake motion for progress. Chapter 3. The Root of Stagnation. Daniel's story forces us to confront an uncomfortable question. Why do so many people work so hard for so little return? The answer lies not in their muscles, nor in their genetics, but in the invisible framework of their thinking. The mind directs the body, and when the mind holds the wrong blueprint, the body cannot build. The most common trap is ego lifting. Daniel, like thousands of others, measured progress by the numbers he could load onto a bar. If last week he benched 185 pounds, he believed success meant pressing 195 today. Even if his form collapsed, his back arched like a bow, and the bar path wobbled. To the untrained eye, this looked like strength. To the body, it was chaos. Muscles were not targeted. Joints took the punishment. His pride grew, but his physique did not. Another root lies in confusion between effort and adaptation. Daniel assumed that the harder he pushed, the more sweat, the more soreness, the more his body would reward him. But soreness is merely damage, not growth. Effort alone is like revving an engine in neutral, noisy, exhausting, but going nowhere. The body adapts only to structured, progressive stress it can recover from and build upon. Finally, Daniel neglected the silent pillars, recovery and nutrition. He cut sleep to 6 hours, convinced that an extra workout would serve him better than an extra hour of rest. He jumped from one diet trend to another, eating too little protein one week, chasing clean eating myths the next. Without fuel and rest, his body was a construction site with no materials and no workers. The root of stagnation is not laziness, it is misdirection. Daniel's effort was real, but scattered. He had energy without Chapter 4. Science, not guesswork. If Daniel's failure was born of misdirection, then his salvation must come from clarity, and clarity comes from science. Muscles are not mysterious. They obey principles as old as biology itself. When you respect those principles, growth is inevitable. When you ignore them, stagnation is guaranteed. The first principle is progressive overload. A muscle grows only when it is asked to do slightly more than it has done before. More weight, more controlled repetitions, or more total work. Not leaps, not reckless jumps, but gradual, measurable increases. Brad Schoenfeld and other leading researchers have shown, time and again, that progressive overload is the cornerstone of hypertrophy. Without it, training is little more than exercise. With it, training becomes transformation. The second principle is volume and intensity in balance. Too little work, and the muscle has no reason to adapt. Too much, and the body cannot recover. Studies suggest that most lifters progress best with 10 to 20 hard sets per muscle group per week, enough to challenge, not enough to destroy. This is not speculation. It is data gathered from athletes, controlled trials, and decades of observation. The third principle is recovery. Sleep, nutrition, and rest days are not luxuries. They are essential components of the growth equation. Muscle tissue repairs and strengthens outside the gym, not inside it. Research on protein synthesis makes it clear. Without adequate protein intake, roughly 0.7 to 1 gram per pound of body weight, muscles cannot rebuild. Without 7 to 9 hours of sleep, hormones crucial for recovery falter. What Daniel lacked was not willpower, but a framework. The science has been established. The question is whether he and you will choose to follow it. Because once the laws of physiology are embraced, progress is not a matter of luck or hope. It is predictable, measurable, and repeatable. The gym does not reward chaos. It rewards method. Science is the compass that transforms blind effort into muscular growth. Chapter 5. From Theory to Practice. Principles are powerful, but principles without application are little more than philosophy. Daniel had read enough to know what should work. What he lacked was a clear path forward. an actionable plan he could follow day after day, week after week. The gym rewards consistency more than brilliance. What you repeat, you become. The first step was to choose fewer exercises and master them. Squat, bench press, deadlift, overhead press, pull-ups, and rows became his foundation. No more chasing exotic variations or gimmicks. These movements recruit the most muscle, allow measurable progression, and have stood the test of time. Do the basics, and do them well, I told him. Second, Daniel learned to track his numbers. Every set, every rep, every load went into a logbook. If he squatted 225 for 3 sets of 8 today, his goal next week was 230 for the same reps, or perhaps 9 controlled repetitions with 225. This was progressive overload in action, not guesswork, not ego, but measured improvement. Third, we implemented structured volume. Instead of piling on endless sets until exhaustion, Daniel trained each muscle group for 12 to 16 hard sets per week, divided over 3 or 4 sessions. Enough to stimulate growth, but not so much that recovery was impossible. He learned to leave 1 or 2 reps in the tank, resisting the temptation to grind until failure every time. Fourth came nutrition and recovery, a protein intake of 1 gram per pound of body weight, whole foods over supplements, sleep scheduled with the seriousness of a workout, and rest days treated as part of the program, not a weakness. Finally, the hardest lesson: patience. No more chasing miracles in 30 days. No more hopping from one trend to another. His new rule was simple: trust the process for 6 months before judging the results. These steps were not glamorous. They were not marketable. But they worked. In practice, the science that once seemed abstract became a daily ritual, and rituals faithfully followed build bodies. Chapter 6: Proof in the Flesh. 6 months later, Daniel looked like a different man. The change was not overnight. It never is. But day by day, brick by brick, his body rebuilt itself. Where once his chest was flat, now it pressed against his t-shirt with the roundness of real muscle. His shoulders, once narrow, had broadened, giving him that V-tapered silhouette every man secretly desires. His legs, which he had long ignored, now carried shape and power, proof that he no longer skipped the work that mattered. The transformation was not only visible in the mirror, it was in the weight he lifted with clean, controlled form. His squat, once a shaky half-rep at 225 pounds, had become a confident, full-depth set at 275. His bench press, stuck for years at 185, now moved smoothly at 225. But more than the numbers, it was his composure, the way he approached each lift with discipline instead of desperation. Friends began to notice. "Man, what are you doing differently?" they asked. Some assumed it was a supplement or some hidden trick. Daniel's answer surprised them. "Nothing secret. I just finally started doing the basics the right way." Perhaps the greatest proof came in his mindset. He no longer measured progress by how wrecked he felt after a workout. He measured it by steady gains, quality of movement, and how quickly he recovered. Sleep became sacred, meals became purposeful, and his logbook became the roadmap to his future physique. The chaos that once defined his training had given way to structure. His story is important, not because it is rare, but because it is common. Anyone can make this shift. Daniel was not gifted, not genetically blessed. He was ordinary. And yet, through ordinary methods applied with extraordinary consistency, his body became something remarkable. Progress in the gym is not a mystery. Daniel's success is living proof that when science meets discipline, transformation is not just possible, it is inevitable. Chapter 7: The Call to Action. Daniel's journey leaves us with a choice, a fork in the road that every lifter must face. You can keep doing what you've always done, piling on weight with broken form, chasing soreness as if it were progress, mistaking exhaustion for achievement. If you choose that path, understand this: your body will not change. A year from now, you will look in the same mirror, see the same physique, and wonder why your effort betrayed you. Or you can choose the harder, humbler road, the road of discipline and clarity. This path does not thrill the ego. It asks you to strip away the lies, that pain equals growth, that heavier always means better, that supplements can replace food, that more is always more. It asks you to trade bravado for patience, chaos for structure, and quick fixes for lasting foundations. The twist is this: real progress is not about doing more, but about doing better. Growth is not won in a single workout. It is earned in the quiet repetition of correct habits. Every rep logged with proper form, every meal built with purpose, every night of deep sleep. These are the invisible victories that forge a physique worth respecting. So ask yourself, right now, why are you in the gym? Is it to impress strangers with reckless lifts, or to sculpt a body that reflects discipline, resilience, and intelligence? The iron will not lie to you. It will only mirror the truth of your methods. Daniel's story should serve as both warning and inspiration. He wasted years chasing noise until he chose to follow signal. Once he changed his mindset, his body followed. Yours will too. The call is simple, but urgent. Drop the illusions, embrace the fundamentals, and commit to them relentlessly. Muscle is built not by chance, but by choice. And today, the choice is yours.